Ever find yourself watching a movie with subtitles and think, how does a machine even begin to understand all the things humans are saying?
It's pretty amazing, right?
Well, today's deep dive, we are jumping into the world of language engineers, the people behind those translations.
Yeah, we'll be looking at RoleCatcher. They have this whole career guide and even interview resources.
And a job platform, too.
We'll break it all down. What do they do? How do you even become one? The whole 9 yards.
So forget Star Trek, this is language meeting cutting edge tech right now. But we aren't teaching robots Shakespeare, right?
Not quite yet.
So are we talking about the next Google Translate?
Yeah. Language engineers, they use linguistics and computer science,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically teach computers to, get us, understand us, and translate languages.
So that's why my Google translated Italian doesn't sound completely like a robot uprising anymore.
Exactly. They develop these really complex algorithms and models, and a lot of it uses machine learning to really break down those language barriers. So teaching a machine grammar, tone, maybe even humor across languages, it's a huge task, and these are the people making it happen.
This RoleCatcher guide, they mention parsing text and mapping translations. It almost sounds like we're trying to understand ancient scrolls or something.
It is complex, but super interesting too. Parsing text is essentially giving a computer X-ray vision into sentences that can see the grammatical structure.
So they can find the subject of a sentence, the verb, the object, all that.
Yes. That way the computer can understand the meaning.
Like diagramming sentences, but way more advanced.
Right. And then you have mapping translations. So this means aligning the same text across languages.
Mm.
But it's more than word for word.
So it's not just like looking in a dictionary, it's about getting the meaning and the intention behind the words.
Exactly. It's teaching a computer that a phrase might mean the same thing in two languages, but the structure or the cultural context might be totally different.
It's almost like they're experts in cross-cultural communication as much as they are language experts.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And these skills are in high demand right now. The guide mentions that the job market is really strong for language engineers, which makes sense, right? Globalization is only increasing the need for good translation.
Yeah, we need people who understand both language and technology to help us all communicate. That's pretty incredible when you think about it. So how do you actually become a language engineer? Is it just being really good at languages?
It's a good start, but the guide says you need a good base in both linguistics and computer science. So a bachelor's or master's degree in a field like, computational linguistics, computer science, even something like cognitive science.
So you need to love Dostoevsky and debugging code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the guide says you can't just kind of know a little coding. Languages like Python, Java, C++, that's essential.
Fascinating. You really do need both sides of the coin for this. RoleCatcher also has a whole section on interview prep, which I thought was super cool.
Over 120,000 practice interview questions. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's wild. It seems like they really want to make sure you are ready for anything in an interview.
And they don't just throw random questions at you. They look at actual job descriptions. So the questions are really specific to what employers are looking for.
So it's really practical. That's got to be reassuring if you're just starting out in this field. There's more to this interview prep, though, right? They actually offer AI-powered feedback on your answers.
It's incredible, right? Like having a coach in your pocket who can tell you how to improve your answers, especially the technical stuff.
That's amazing. But what about the day-to-day stuff for a language engineer? What's that actually like?
Well, it can't be all algorithms and coding all day, every day, can it?
Yeah, there's got to be some creativity in there somewhere, right?
You're right. The guide mentions a lot of different things they work on. So obviously, developing and improving those machine translation systems we were just talking about, that takes a lot of coding, testing, refining those algorithms.
So, like fine-tuning a high-performance engine, but instead of horsepower, we're talking accuracy and fluency.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more than just the technical stuff. Research is a big part of it, too. Language engineers need to be learning about new technologies all the time, finding ways to get even better translations.
So, like, are they going to linguistic conferences, debating grammar rules, that kind of thing?
Maybe sometime. But
Yep.
really, we're talking cutting-edge tech, like experimenting with new machine learning stuff, looking at tons of data text code, and just trying to figure out how to push the boundaries.
Always learning, always evolving. Sounds like you've got to be on your toes in this job.
For sure. The guide really stresses that staying up to date is so important in a field that's changing so quickly. Conferences, journals, online groups, all that.
Wow, it's like they're exploring this whole new world of language. Speaking of exploring this RoleCatcher guide, they mention mapping translations. What does that even mean?
Oh, that's so important. So you've got the same text in multiple languages, and it's about making sure the meaning comes through, not just the words, but the tone, the humor, any cultural references.
So you don't just want a direct translation, you want it to feel natural.
Right. That's the tricky part, and that's where the creativity comes in. Imagine trying to translate a joke or poetry, something that's really connected to the culture it came from. You have to get that across in the translation.
That makes sense. Now, the guide also mentions language engineers working with corpora. What in the world is that?
Uh-huh. It sounds kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
A corpus is basically a huge collection of text and code, and language engineers use it to teach their algorithms.
So instead of Shakespeare, it's like giving the algorithm the entire Library of Congress.
Basically, they need to be exposed to as much language as possible to really learn how to understand it. Different styles of writing, different dialects.
A crash course in how humans actually use language?
Exactly.
That makes me think, how do language engineers make sure that what they're building is inclusive? That it works for everyone, no matter what language they speak.
It's a really important question, and RoleCatcher actually brings it up in their interview prep.
Really? How so?
One of their practice interview questions is all about making sure language technology is inclusive. So thinking about different languages and dialects, but also different cultures and how they use language.
It's not enough to just translate the words. You have to translate the meaning in a way that makes sense for that culture.
Yes, and understand that language and culture are connected. Language engineers have a responsibility to make sure everyone's voice can be heard.
It's amazing you're building something that can connect people across cultures. That's got to feel pretty rewarding.
It really is. But RoleCatcher also talks about the other skills you need to succeed, things you might not think about right away.
Like what else do you need besides knowing how to code and loving languages? So it's not enough to just be like a coding whiz and a grammar expert, huh? What else should people know?
Yeah, the guy talks about communication, how important that is.
Oh, right, because you're working on a team probably.
Exactly. So you need to be able to talk to people, maybe from different backgrounds even, explain what can be pretty complex ideas.
It's like you're a diplomat, but for language and tech.
Uh-huh. Yeah, something like that. And you have to be good at solving problems. Language is messy, right? It doesn't always fit neatly into boxes.
That's for sure.
But computers need things to be very precise. So you need to break down problems, think outside the box, and find these creative ways to teach a machine how to understand us messy humans.
Sounds like it would keep you on your toes. But let's be real, one of the perks of a tech career is the salary. Does RoleCatcher say anything about that?
They do, yeah. The guide says that language engineers, especially the ones with a lot of experience or really specific skills, they can earn a lot.
So it's intellectually stimulating, and you can make bank. Now, we've talked about the skills, what the job is like, but what about getting hired? RoleCatcher has that job platform, right?
They do. And it's really cool. It's not like other job boards. So their thing, it's called RoleCatcher.capture, and you can basically save jobs from anywhere online.
Anywhere, so like LinkedIn, company websites, all that.
Yep. It brings them all together so you don't have 50 tabs open.
That's super convenient. So if I'm on LinkedIn and I see a cool job, maybe at a company that makes voice assistants or something, I can just save it right there.
Exactly. And get this, once you've saved a job, it actually looks at the job description and figures out what skills they want.
Oh, that's smart. So no more guessing if your Python is good enough or if they need you to have worked with a certain program before.
Exactly. And if you're like me and have a bunch of different resumes, for different types of jobs, it even tells you which one to use.
Wow, that's seriously impressive. It's like they've thought of everything to make finding a job easier. So RoleCatcher seems to have all the tools and resources, but what would you say is the most important thing for someone who wants to be a language engineer?
Honestly, you have to really love language. Just be fascinated by words, grammar, how we use language to communicate and understand the world around us. That's what makes a great language engineer.
It's about more than just the technical side of things. It's about that human connection.
Yes. It's a challenging career, no doubt, but also really rewarding. We have the passion for it. You can really make a difference, building technology that helps people understand each other better.
That's amazing. This has been so interesting, so much to think about. Who knows what the future holds for this field?
I know, right?
Yeah.
The possibilities are really endless.
Well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.